Hello, today I'll be teaching us how to use the Microsoft Fabrics. Before we go on, let's define Microsoft Fabric according to Microsoft themselves, okay? Microsoft Fabrics is said to be built on a foundation of software as a service. So it combines new and existing components from Power BI, Azure Synapse Analytics, Azure Data Factory, and more services in a unified environment. So, what are we saying here? Fabrics, that's Microsoft Fabrics, is a platform that unifies all other products for data analytics, data engineering, and so on. So it's a platform for collaboration. So both the data engineers, data analysts, data science, they have a common platform where they can collaborate, have access, and do their work together as planned in the same workspace. So that's just a summary of what Microsoft Fabrics is all about. I know most of you may be familiar with, the Snap Analytics and so on. You're used to that. So this is a new product that's brought together all those products and put them in one platform so that everyone, as they collaborate in the office, they can work together and achieve a common goal. So again, another definition of Microsoft Fabric is by Microsoft is that it is an end-to-end analytics and data platform designed for enterprises that require a unified solution. So that is it. Unified solution. Instead of having different products, just one stack, everything in one. So that's what we're teaching today. And moving on, we want to talk about the first aspect of it, which is to create a lake house. So let's create a lake house. So for lake house is where we're going to store all the data concerning the engineering, analytics, and whatever you have. That is where you store it. So in another video, we'll give a compilation of all this definition. Okay, for today, we just have to show you how to create them. So this is what the Fabric platform looks like. So when you have it, there are different products. Like if you see here, you see this one is uh, a trial product, and I have 10 days left. Okay, so you can actually go ahead and buy the premium one. You have to pay for it and all. But if you don't have it, you can sign up for the trial one. Okay, but you have to have like a company account. You can't use your personal account to sign up for Fabric. So if you have a company account, you can sign up for the trial version. So right now, I'll teach you the first thing, which is how to create a lake house. So we'll go all the way. This is the home page. You can see we're already at the home page of lake house. Now, the next thing we're gonna do is to create the lake house, like I said. So all the way to the bottom here, I'll go to this point, and then okay, so let me show you where you can get all those products that you can start working on. If you want to start working with Microsoft Fabric, you will see all the way to the bottom here, you see Power BI. Okay, so Power BI is one of the products for data analytics. So when you click on Power BI here, you'll see the other components of Microsoft Fabric. You can see, so you have the Power BI, Data Factory, Data Activator, Industry Solutions, Real Time Intelligence, and then under Snaps, you can see Data Engineering, Data Science, and Data Warehouse. So it's like I said, the product contains all this. Microsoft Fabric contains all this, and then different data stuff like in your company, for instance. So you have data engineering, data science, data analytics. They can all combine on one workspace to do all these jobs. So for you to start creating Lakehouse, which is the topic for today, so we click on data engineering. So when you click on data engineering, it reveals all the other components of Microsoft Fabric. Now you can see our lake house here. So what do you see here? You have lake house, notebook, environment, spark job definition, data pipeline, API, and so on. So you have all this here. Now, moving on. So let's create our first lake house. So we click on create. So you can click on this, right? So lake house. Let's click on it. Then you see the name here, new lake house. So let's give it a name. Um, Lake house 1. Okay, so click on create lake house, and then wait for a few seconds, and we already have our lake house. This is what the lake house looks like. So in our lake house, at the explorer part here, you see that we have the lake house contains two components. Okay, so it has tables and files. When you expand, it has nothing. When you expand, it has nothing. So by the time you start ingesting data, you start seeing how it's ingested in either table or files, and you see how it moves. So in the lake house, we ingest data to the files first before it proceeds to the table, and it's from that table that you do your queries. So let's wait until we get there. So let's continue and then try to ingest data to the lake house. Now, if you already have data somewhere, maybe on your computer, like a .csv, so we'll be importing a .csv data from wherever you store it. So if you have any CSV file, you can bring it in. So we're bringing in a CSV file, and to do that, you click on, see here, upload files. So you upload data from your local computer, the other places you can get data from. So you can see get data in your lake house. You can see new data gen 2, prep, clean, transform, and ingest data, pipeline, and so on. Just go through and you see different ways you can ingest data. So let's do just from our local computer. Okay, so we click on upload files, then this comes up, upload from where, right? So you click on this folder and it takes you to where you can get data from. So let's look for any, let me see whether I have any data.csv, CSV file. Okay, so I'll go and download one and I'll get back to you. I don't have one here. Okay, so let me bring in my CSV file. I have this one called people.csv. Click on open and you can see it appears here, and then click on upload. As soon as that is done, you can see it here, completed. So what do we do now? You can close this because you're done importing. Then go and locate your work, your data, where it's ingested into. Okay, so let's click on here. First of all, let's refresh so that you can pick all the data. Now, if you expand files, did you see anything here? No. So let's see. Ta-da! You can see. So if you try to expand, you might not see. So just click on the file itself and then you see it displayed. So this is the CSV. So you can click on it to preview it. This is what it looks like. So that's how to ingest data. It comes in to the lake house, but it will come into files. Okay, so that's it. So first step, we have learned how to ingest data into our lake house in the other folder called files. So it comes straight to files first, then after that, then you can now move it to table, and we'll show you how that happens. Okay, so the first step is to bring it into on files folder. Okay, so moving on, let's take another step. So this time we will do what? We'll say load files data into a table. So we will show you how to load data now into a table. We have showed you how to load it into files. So that data now, this data in files, we'll move it, we'll show you how to load it into a table. So now, so from this menu here, this three dot here, beside people.csv, this dot here, you can see it says load to table. Load to table, and then you have new table. So now it's time to give it a name. Okay, so let's retain that name so we'll just remember which file is now, loaded into the table. So let's retain the name, and then we'll say people, and then after that we click on load, and then watch it load here. So wait for some minutes, or I won't say minutes, I'll say seconds as it loads. So as finished loading, then we'll continue. Okay. Successfully created people table. In where? In Lakehouse. So our Lakehouse name is called Lakehouse 1. We can see it at the Explorer by the left here. So if you try to click on this table, let's click on table. So let's expand it. See people here. So this is the new table. So it's now in a table. Okay. So that is how these things work. So that's how to move, ingest data from file and then move it up to the table. So this is how data comes into Lakehouse of Microsoft Fabric. I hope you learned something today, how to ingest data into the Lakehouse and then how to move it from the files folder to the table folder. You can see if you expand this thing, you see it has all those the columns and all is now a regular table. This is kind of table we can query. So this is the way it looks in as a CSV. Raw data, this is just a raw one, and then it becomes a table data, the one that can be queried with our during the query session. So that's that for this. I hope you learned something today. Please, if you liked it, please remember to like and subscribe, and also share to your friends to attend the next lecture so they can learn how to use Fabric. So our next topic, next session will be how to use SQL to query the tables. Thank you. See you next video. I also want to show you another way to ingest data. So here you can see this toolbar here. So you can click on get data, and then you click on upload data, and you can see all the other places you can get data from. So this is another scene where you can see how to upload your data. So click on upload file. It will come up the same way. So the first one ingested. So we want to use this way also. You can always ingest data this way. Okay, so I just want to pull this in again, and let's see the reaction. So override if files already exist. So I'll choose that option this time. So I'll override. Done. So I close it, then you can see that's overwritten it. Now I have to bring it in to the because now this is like a new data. Now I have to take it to the table this time, just like we did the first time. So you go over, you have to be in this window to be able to access load to table. So click on new table. I'll retain that. I click on load, and then it's loading the table. It's loading the CSV into the table. It's creating a table for that. So watch it, and it appears here. So I have this one. So these are two ways you can bring in file. The other way, the first time that we showed you, and then this way now that we showed you. Okay, there are two ways you can do that. Now moving on, let's continue the topic for today. I said today's topic is going to be about how to use SQL to query. So let's move on to that. To use SQL to query, we have to use what is called the SQL analytic endpoint. I will show you where it is. So this fabric, we have the lake house and then the SQL analytic endpoint. So if you want to explore your data files and folder, you have to go to the lake house. It's written here, explore your data files and folders. Now, if you want to now query, time to query your data, you have to switch to SQL analytic endpoint. So you can see query data using SQL. So we'll switch to that and then wait for it. And then you can see we're now in SQL analytics endpoint. Observe that the windows have changed sort of. You can see what your lakehouse looks like now. So your lakehouse, if you expand it, you see it has let's read this. So it has schema, it has security, and then it has queries. Because you're now in the query section, you want to query. Okay, so we have schemas and we have security in the lakehouse when you're in the analytic endpoint. And then if you expand your schemas, that's where you find your table. So this is what we're working on, our table. So click on people, which is already open. You can see data preview of it. And then if you go here, time to query. Let's say you want to query this table now. So click on new SQL query. And it opens this window. Some of you are already familiar. Those who are into SQL already, who knows how to use SQL, this view will be very familiar. So now let's run a small query here. Let's say we want to select, let's look at our table. So this is our table. Let's run a small query. So we say select. If you say select, let's use select item name. Okay, item name. We want to work with. We want to get item name. We want to get the revenue for that item, and let's see how it works. Okay, so let's go back to our query. So we're here, our new query. So we'll type select. Okay, this is the way it works. Select item name. Okay, comma, want to get sum of our price multiplied by our quantity, and then we'll call it, give it an alias. Say alias, let's say profit. Okay, call it our profit, and then from where the name of our table, which is people. You can follow along with me so that we'll see. So we're testing how to query, right, using SQL in Fabrics. So let's group by. We'll group by this item name. So go by item name, and then order by. So let's order by the profit for this time in descending order. Okay, let's go this way, and then let's run this query. So as soon as you type this, you click on run to run it. So this is where I can close this one, just have one open. So let's click on run, and then did you see invalid column name? It says item name. You know why? It's good we saw this error because the original data here, let me show you. Let's go to the table. You can see that it's capital letter. What does it tell you? It is case sensitive, right? So let's see whether we can find our query. This is our query here. See where it's stored. So let's go change the name to, so it's case sensitive. Okay, so let's change it to capital C. Told you it's case sensitive. So be mindful of that. So if you run into an error, you know why you have that error, okay? So let's go to our people. Let's see. Is it a small letter? So we're good there. Then here we have to also change this guy to item. This one, okay? Nice. So delete this guy. Now we have this. So let's run it this time. Okay, let's watch. Ta-da! So we have this. We have all this now, meaning what? That our query is correct. So what did you learn today? It is case sensitive. So be careful when you're typing so you don't run into errors. So this is our first query and this is our result. You can see we have a result. We wanted to get this and call it profit, and that's what we achieved. So moving on, there is another query you can write. If you don't want to write the SQL query, we can use another type of query. We'll call it the new visual query. So the Fabric has these two queries, new SQL query and new visual query. So for us to create this second query, this one, so in as much as people like data professionals, they are very comfortable with SQL. Okay. However, there are other people who might just want something else. Instead of writing code, they'll use a visual query. So I'll show you an example. So let's go to new visual. Here we have this, right? Now we'll show you how to use it. If you see here, it says to build a query, drag your tables here. So we'll be dragging tables and then you see how it works. So let's go all the way to drag in our people's tables. So this table that we have here, so we'll drag it into here. So click and drag. Let's see. Loading. So wait for it to load. It's loading. Wow, what did you see? You can see a visual query. It shows us the name of our table, which is the source. So, and if you look at it, you see it has a drop-down note that this source is actually SQL Server database. So you can see that the database of this Fabric at the moment, it's an SQL Server database. Okay, so it says source is database, and then this database contains the table. That's what this means. So we have learned how to, we didn't write any code, right? So this particular one just says select all. That's what it means. Select all, and that's why select all from people's table. And that's why it brought in everything. You can see gave us all the columns, gave us everything, right? Amazing. So that's how flexible this is. So if you don't want to write code, you can use the visual query screen to do that. If you look over here, you can see all the other data transformation, data cleaning, and all. You can see manage column, reduce rows, sort, transform, combine, and so on. So this is what it looks like. Now, let's say you want to download this data as an Excel file. You can click on this and download it. Or you want to visualize your result, you can click on this to visualize it. We'll show you how this works, but for now, let's continue on this visual query. We'll continue to show you how it works. So under manage columns, we'll select choose column. We just want to pick. Remember the other one, the code we wrote here. If I go to the other code, let me show you the SQL code. If I scroll all the way to SQL folders, this one, the way we wrote this code, select item name, blah blah blah, all this, right? Now we want to just use the visual query to show it off, with another example, of course. So let's go. We'll click on manage columns. Under manage columns, we'll now select choose columns. So we're choosing the columns ourselves. So click on choose columns. Okay, so we want to choose the columns to keep. So we'll be selecting a few. So let's deselect. We just want to choose the ones we want to keep. So deselect and then choose the ones we want to keep. So I want to keep this one, sales order, and line numbers for this explanation. Okay, so we chose those two. Then we'll click OK. Amazing. Did you see? It shows you the steps. So after table, it shows you the next activity that took place. So what did we do? We chose columns that we want to keep. And it shows you a visual of that query. So there's no SQL code here. It just shows you the visual of that query. Okay? So in a lineage format. So let's see. We have the two columns that we chose, sales order number and sales order line number. Now, we want to do a transformation on this visual query. So on this transform menu, we'll click here and click on group by. We're not writing code, but we're doing our transformation just like the way we wrote the SQL query and we did transformation there. So let's click on group by here. Now, group by what? We want to group by the order number. Okay, and then give a new column name. Let's see. A new column name. I can call it a new column name of the item. So let's say item line to line now. Just a new column. That's what I want to name it. So remember, make sure you are conscious of the fact that it's case sensitive. So I just want to retain the first one as capital for my columns. And then what do I want to do? The operations, I want to count distinct values. Okay, where on this sales order line number. Okay, so now that we're done, this is just an example of transformation. So I click OK and watch what will happen. Did you see that? The next one it showed us grouped row. So we have done a transformation, we grouped the row. And you can see the name of the row here is now item line now, just like I said. So we grouped it and we have this value. Amazing. Did you see how easy, how flexible, how intuitive Microsoft Fabric is? Okay, now that we have showed how the new visual query feature works, now is to create a report. So that will be our next video. Please like, subscribe, tell your friends about this class, and then join us in the next video. Thank you. Hello, welcome to today's class. Our topic for today is how to create a report. So the tables in our lakehouse, are added by default on the semantic model for reporting with Power BI. So because we want to create a report, what we'll do is all the way to the bottom here, you see that we have three tabs here. We have data, query, and model. The last class we stopped at query, which is the new visual query. So that's why you can see we are at the query window. Now, for us to do our report, At the bottom of this, we're in SQL Analytic Endpoint. So at the bottom here, you see model as the third tab here. So we need to click that model. So we click on model, and then it takes us to this semantic model. So I mentioned semantic model earlier on. So let's read and see. So this Steakhouse has a default Power BI semantic model for easier reporting. So to add lakehouse object to the model, go to manage default semantic model. So that will be for another topic. So right now you can see what it looks like. So all the tables in this lakehouse, they're all here. So let's try to reduce it and see whether we can see everything at once. Okay, yes, so we have everything here. You can see people, that's our major table in this work. Our major table. The other ones are by default, they are existing in the lake house. So here you can see we only have one table on this exercise, which is people. We already know that. However, while in a real projects and all, you have many tables which you can add here. But for today, we're working on just one single table. So moving on, remember you're not the one that created this. It's just by default. That's all Fabric created by default. All these other tables here, and they're actually called views. Okay, just views that was created. So we'll move on to this particular one that we have here. So let's go on. Please follow along so I don't miss any step. So in the menu the menu ribbon, let's look for reporting. Let's see. Okay, let's see. Maybe under reporting, what do we have here? You can click on new reports, and also under home you can still see new reports. So depending on where you are, so if you're here, click on new report, which is also the same as new report. So let's stay at this home, or we can click on reporting just for the purpose of today's lecture, which is how to create reports. So I click on report, and then you click on new report. So we have this open here. It says to create a report, first add data to the default data set, and so on and so forth. So we'll go on and then click on continue. We have these people here already, so we'll click on continue. So it can create our report. So wait for some minute for it to create our report. Yes, so it's taking us. I bet you most of you will be familiar with this screen. The Power BI. Have you seen when we talked about the Fabric having all the other products, the Power BI, Snap Analytics, all for data scientists also, all those tools, everyone in one platform, we're all collaborating. So this is the reporting side of our data. So at the data pane, right, I will expand. You can see people here. So I will expand, and then I need two columns. So I click on item name and then the quantity. So that's what I need here. So as you can see, let's click and drag and see whether we can have a full screen. So this is what it looks like. Then we have the two columns that we selected. Now moving on, just to get more space, let's hide all these windows. I'll hide this too because I still need the visualized one. So this is Power BI for reporting, data analytics. Now, this is selected. So we want to do a report. We're going to choose a particular type of visual. So let's choose clustered bar chart for today. We have this clustered bar chart. So that is what we're reporting with today. You can see our item names. So sum of quantity by item names. That's what we have here. So we have item names here and then sum of quantity. Amazing. So we have that now. So for us to save our report, we'll go on and save it. So click on Files, click on Save, and then you choose a workspace where you want to save it. Now, I have an existing workspace, so I want to save it in my workspace. Okay, so we'll go ahead and give it a name. People reports, and I click on Save. Our report is now saved. So this is how to create a report eventually from that data that you have. Amazing. So I hope this was straightforward. It just, for those who have used Power BI in the past, it's similar. It's just the same. For those who have not used Power BI, then you have to learn how to use Power BI. So that's where you're using your fabrics. It's easier and you understand as you walk along. But this is how to do reporting. So that is the end of today's topic on how to report. Thank you very much. Remember to subscribe if you have learned something today, and also share the video to your friends. Invite them to the next video. Thank you so much. Have a nice day. Bye bye. Hello, welcome back. If you remember, our last class was on reporting. Then after reporting, how do we go back to where we started from? So let's go back all the way. So you click on Workspace. So my name of my workspace is My First Fabric. Then in there you see what we created. Okay, let's go search for it. What date? We created on 21st of June. So this is the lake house. And then this is this. You can expand this to locate your work in your workspace. So everything you create is going to be your workspace. So before you start creating anything, remember to create your workspace first. So in your workspace is where you start storing everything. I already had a workspace, and that was why I started building the lake house in. So there will be another video where I'll explain to you how to create a workspace. Okay, I bet I skipped that video, but I'll create that video how to create a workspace. So please make sure you stay tuned so I don't miss anyone. This is what we created the last time. Remember, on 21st of June, that's when we created it. So we have our lake house. So we can go back there and see what it looks like now. Remember, we have to, if you want to explore your data, you click on lake house. Then you want to do query, click on this. So I just want us to locate our work. Remember this table, remember our visual queries and all. Remember all this. Yes. I just wanted to remind you that's how to go back to find the work that you've done before. Now, how do you locate your report? Let's go back. Remember, that's the last thing we did. So let's look for our report here. This is our lake house. We're looking for our reports. Again, look at it here. People's reports. So that's the report that we created. It's also in our lake house. So we have everything in our lake house. This is that report that we created. So we'll go back to your workspace. You see your lake house. You see your semantic model. That's your model. When you click on it, you see. Click on it. Your semantic model. And then go back to your workspace. That's where you find everything. Just showing you how to walk through it so I don't miss your way. So click your report here, click your lake house. That's the SQL analytic endpoint. Let's click it and you see what it looks like. Again, so that's how it. So the beginning, you have to go to what? Your workspace. Okay, so in this video, after showing you around, like I said, I skipped how to create a workspace. right? So I just want to use this opportunity to show you how to create a workspace. So how do you do that? Again, from the first day you go into your fabric, the first thing you should create is your workspace. You click on my workspace, you click on new what? You did not give it a name. So what do? Don't click this way because you'll not find your way. So let's go back to workspace. So here, my workspace. The first thing you should do, if you click here, you see workspace settings. So that's not how to create a workspace. I'm just taking you through. So here, you cannot click here because you have to search for your workspace. That's not what we want to do. You go all the way to the bottom here, you see new workspace. So click on new workspace. Now, this is where you create your workspace. So find your way the right way, and then we create your workspace. You say people workspace. People workspace. WS. Okay. And then you click on apply. I can see the name has changed now. So it is in this workspace that you start building everything you want to build. This is where you do everything you want to do. This is where everything will be created. So this is how to go from the very first step, and you click on what? Lake house. Then you create your new lake house. So that's how to do that. I've already shown you how to create warehouse. I just wanted to use the opportunity to show you how to create a workspace, which, like I said, I missed that step. That's the very first step before you go ahead to create your lake house. So that's how to create workspace. So moving on, if I click on my workspace again, this was the first one. This is the new one that we created. So that's how to create your workspace. Thank you for today's video. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Remember to share and then subscribe if you have not subscribed, and watch all the videos we've made so far. We'll see you in the next video with another brand new topic. Thank you. Subscribe. Hello, welcome back. Today we want to show you how to analyze huge volumes of data, okay, in the lakehouse. So we'll be using what is called Apache Spark. Apache Spark is actually an open source engine, for data processing. It's used to analyze huge volumes of data. And the great thing about Spark is that it supports a lot of programming languages, like Scala, Python, Java, and so on. It's very flexible, very flexible. Now, remember the last video, I showed you how to create a workspace. So I want us to work in that workspace today. So that workspace, remember, people workspace. So for the purpose of today, we want to analyze data with Apache Spark. So let's run from the very beginning. We'll bring in data for this Apache Spark and all. So especially for those who just joined for the first time today and you're here, you have the privilege of learning from scratch. So, but apart from the workspace, we created the workspace from here. You click on workspace and then click on new workspace and give it a name. Let me click and see, give it a name and click on apply. So that's how we got to this people's workspace. Now in our workspace, we want to work towards using Apache Spark in analyzing data. So in our workspace, we have to create a lakehouse. So I click on new, click on lakehouse. So I'll call it Lake 2, just to make it a shorter name. Lake 2. I click on that. So our new lakehouse in our workspace called People WS. This is it, new lakehouse. You can see it's called Lake 2. And I have a lakehouse contains two folders, the table and the files. If you ingest file, raw data is brought into files, this folder called files. Then eventually you can now load the data into table where you can now query it. So raw data comes into files and then load it to the table for you to now query it. So let's go bring in the tables for today's exercise. I'll go all the way here. I'll click on upload what? Upload files. So I click on upload files, or I can actually go here, click on get data and upload files. So anyone. Previous video we used this one, so let's use this one today. Upload. Let's bring here upload files, or you can bring in folder. So let's click on files. Then where are the files? I want to uncheck this. I'm not overwriting anything today, so I click on here to bring in my files. So we shall bring in 3 files. So we'll highlight the 3. I have people 2017, 2016, 2015. I bring in 3 of them. I click on open, and then it comes in. You can see they all coming together because you selected them, and then you click on upload, and then you watch them get uploaded here. So you can see the difference. This data is brought into Lakehouse called Lakehouse 2. You can see the name, which is the current one we're using. This other one was brought in at the previous Lakehouse. So today we're working with Lakehouse 2. And we brought in 3 types of data CSV files here, 3 types. And then we click on this. So we all have it here, raw data. Click on it and it will load. You see, very raw. As you can see, so raw. Now, the next step, remember today, is to analyze data with Spark Analytics. So we'll go over to the first step for us to create, for us to start analyzing with Apache. We need what is called a notebook. So we have to create a notebook. Now we have our files, right? CSV files. In 5 CSV files, in files folder, in our Lakehouse, in our workspace, okay, which is people WS. Let's go on and practice how to use Apache Spark. So we need notebook for that. So click on that. We click on new notebook. This is the first time we're doing this, so click on new notebook. Okay, nice. So the notebook gives us an environment, very interactive, where we can write and run our codes. Okay, and it has multiple language because, like I said earlier, supports multiple programming languages. So now let's move on. This is a new notebook. You can see this is where you type in. It's called cell. This is one cell. This is where you type your codes. So right now, this is just like comments. You can see comments. Welcome to your new notebook, blah, blah, blah. If you want to start typing, you can just go down and start typing whatever you want to type. However, if you want us to explore this window before we move on, you can see that there's something here called M. It's called markdown cell. So having this cell here, default cell, if I click on markdown, you see what's happened. This is what it looks like. So it just marks it down, just formats it like a formatted text. So markdown, or you say formatted text. So that's not what we're doing today. So let's go back to what we're doing. We want to write codes. We want to write codes for analyzing, using Apache Spark. Now you can come here. You see code here. Click on it, or you can just go back to where you were editing before. Here. Okay. Or click here to go back to convert to code cell. So you go back, click on where you were before. So just go ahead and type. So for today's exercise, we want to load want to load data into a data frame. So using Apache Spark, remember our file? We brought in 3 files into the file folder in our lakehouse. Now, if you're going to be using Apache Spark, remember it's to analyze data, right? We'll be using what is called data frame. Data frame, that's what you'll be hearing more of now. So data frames are where you move that your data that you brought into files, you load it into that. So Apache Spark works with data frames. So data frames are similar to, for those who are familiar with data science, pandas data frame. When you use your Python to write pandas, it's similar to that. So if you're already a Python person, this is familiar, very, very familiar Python language person. You'd write in Python. Very familiar. It's very similar. So it's very, very familiar. This environment is very familiar to you. Now, so let's go on. With this notebook here visible, we'll go all the way and expand our lakehouse. Let's expand it. You will see our files and these files, which we want to now load into the data frame. So let's click on the file folder. You can see all our work here. So you can see 3 windows here. We have our lakehouse here, our files, and our notebook side by side. So we can work now. So moving on, I can delete this and type what we want to do. So I can just delete it and say, hey, our first Apache Spark, right? First Apache Spark code. So you can see, look at the name here. It's called Python Spark. So for Apache Spark, we work with PySpark, which is still Python, but in Spark. Now, we have these files here. We want to work with them. So, for us to load this CSV file now, we have to load it. What do? We type our code. We'll go to, first of all, this particular one. Remember, this is what it looks like. However, since we're going straight to work on analysis, just watch what will happen to this previous notebook. So we'll click on this first CSV file. Did you see this? It's called load data. Load data as what? We're using Apache Spark. So our data, we'll load it as Spark. You can see we have the data loaded. This 2015.csv now loaded on a new cell. I just wanted to show you how it works. So you can actually delete this cell if you're not using it. So click on this one. No, click on here, this place, delete cell. So that particular cell deletes. However, this one is for this cell. So I'll go all the way here. Okay, so I click on delete. Did you see what happened? So this is all the way. The one on top is the one for the top one. So I just delete. Now I'll go back to what I did before. I'm just deliberately making sure this happens so that you will learn the different errors and how to mitigate them and how to solve them. So click here, load data, again, Spark. So it brings you this data automatically. I didn't write any code. Hello code. I didn't write any code. It just brings in. So this is what's called the data frame. And this is the code in Spark. Spark.read.format is a CSV file. .option, header is true. And what are we loading? We are loading data from where? Our workspace. Remember? People workspace at one leg.dfs. And then all the way to the end. And then you can see where the data was picked from. This is our lake house. Lake house 2, which is our lake house, and then our file and our what people 2015.csv file. See it here. So from lake house, which is to our file, and then this. So you can see it took all the path. This is our data path. It took all of them and then open it up in Spark for us. And then if you want to see what this looks like in data frame, remember Apache Spark takes your file, your raw data, and creates a data frame. And DF means data frame. Now, it wants to display. If you want to display your data frame and see what it looks like, you click on this run. So you run this cell so I can see the result of the data frame that was created. So it's running. Wait for it. Wait for it. It's still running. Give it some minutes. It says session started in 5 seconds. And then you give it some time. You can see here it says it's ready and then it's in progress. Succeeded. It succeeded. Now you can see the data frame. This is what the data frame looks like. This is data frame. Okay? Amazing, amazing, amazing. So we have seen how to write Apache Spark code that picks our raw data and then converts it into data frame and then displays it for us. Looks like a table. You see? That's how Apache Spark works. From the data ingested and creates a data frame. I hope it's very clear. So that's an example of what it looks like. Now, I believe you can also try that from your end, everyone. So this is what it looks like for the first one. So you can actually go ahead and do the next one. Again, load data, Spark, and it opens another cell for you. You can see this is another file called what? 2016. You can see it. Same here. You can go here to do this one also. I've created data frame for the 3 of them. So if you have that task to create data frame for the 3 of them using Apache Spark in Microsoft Fabric, this is what you should do. Amazing, amazing. Now, that is where we're going to stop today. Please follow us up in the next video. Remember to subscribe, like, comment, ask your questions, and inform a friend to join us as we learn data fabrics. Thank you so much. Bye. See you next video.